the computer. Yes, alhamdulillah wa salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man walahum bi tamam ihsan ila yawm al-din. So today is the first session for the mentorship program for the new Muslims, and I'm so glad that every one of you joined. This would be a great starting point for our organization and the first practical steps. First of the practical steps that inshallah we intend to do. So the scope of this course is it's all based on experience. There is no really science behind it. It's more of an art than science. And I would love for everyone to chip in if you have any additional thoughts, any ideas, and I will take notes. And inshallah, the plan is really to update this presentation and make it a template for future training of people nationwide who are interested to mentor new Muslims, inshallah. So in the beginning, so if you have any thoughts, please step forward, say your thoughts right away. No permission needed. It does not bother me or distract me from the presentation. If you speak your mind at any point, you can ask the questions, you can say your thoughts, you can give your insights, adding, modifying, anything. So let's think about it as open discussion, inshallah. So the need for the mentorship program to the new reverts. We all have to understand that the revert is like a newborn, regardless of how old they are. They are always a newborn, regardless of their level of education, careers, jobs, and intelligence, do not matter. I have seen people in the 40s and 50s who reverted, and they really feel like they are lost, like they are really starting their life one more time. So reverting to Islam is like walking on a thin rope or dropped in the middle of an ocean. The reverts always feel helpless. It's a huge step in life. Many families and co-workers are lost, boycotted the new revert. It's expected. It's like becoming a black sheep in the family. Regardless of how much the revert was loved before revert to Islam, regardless of their social status, family status, educational status, professional status, it doesn't really matter. It's really very unexpected state in life. It's like being in a limbo state. That's what the reverts always feel when they revert, as I mentioned. So it is really very important for us to understand the mentorship in Islam, the importance of mentorship in Islam. It is also very important to understand the responsibilities and boundaries of a mentor. It is very important to understand the ethical considerations in the mentorship. And it's very important to understand maintaining confidentiality and trust between the mentor and the mentee. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was a mentor. That's exactly what he did. And that's what he excelled at. Yes, he was a teacher, but he was more of a mentor. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ main role is really to mentor the companions. He mentored the companions for 13 years in Mecca. 13 years he was mentoring them. The amount of Quran, the magnitude of Quran that was revealed in Mecca is indeed less than the Medina. So 13 years out of 23, the Prophet ﷺ main role was to do mentorship of the companions. The companions learned the art of mentorship from the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and then they mentored the tabi'een after them. And that's how the Islam spread so widely after the death of the Prophet ﷺ. If you really take a look at the Quranic verses revealed in Mecca versus the ones revealed in Medina, you will find that all of the Meccan Quran is nothing but tools for mentorship, correcting the wrong beliefs, enhancing their personality and behavior, strengthening their connections to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, building up piety and spiritual aspects, etc. And then later on, only in 10 years out of 23 years, the rules of Islam came, the fiqh came in Medina. So mentorship is really a very vital element in our Islamic da'wah in general. For you to become a mentor, you need essential knowledge, basics of knowledge. The first thing is you really have to be very well versed with the articles of faith and the 5 pillars of Islam. And today we started in the Sunday lesson at 11:30. We started the first lesson of the articles of faith, or what is known as Al-Aqidah Al-Islamiyya. We started that lesson. It's recorded. Inshallah, I will post it in the in YouTube. Inshallah, we can take a look at it. It is really very vital for the mentor to understand the 6 articles of faith in deep and the breadth. And why is that? Because you will be faced with new Muslims not really seeing much of a difference between Islamic faith and other faith, like Judaism, Christianity, etc. And many of them who do not really indulge deeply in understanding the Islamic faith, they may end up reverting back to their faith. They don't know the difference between Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah, the oneness of worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Tawheed al-Rububiyyah, the oneness of the Lordship, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only Lord. They don't understand the understanding of the names and attributes of Allah, the understanding of the beliefs in the angels, the holy books, etc. So for you to be a really good mentor, you must be very well versed with these 6 articles of faith, more than anything else. Number 2 is the 5 pillars of Islam. And of course, we all know what they are, the Shahada, the Salah, the Zakah, etc. And the second block on the right side is to be well versed with the fiqh basics, the basics of fiqh. It doesn't have to be in depth. The reason I'm saying it doesn't have to be in depth is because if this is really a very wide topic and subject. There are lots of books written about this topic, and you are not supposed to be knowledgeable about all different aspects of fiqh. So at least you have the basics, and if you are asked a question by your mentee, then you can always say, let me take this to my scholar or a supervisor of the mentorship, and then I will get back to you with the right answer. There's nothing wrong with that. It's much, much better to say that instead of pretending to know the answer or trying to fudge an answer based on the logic. It is also very important to know the seerah, the biography of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Not necessarily in depth, but at least the highlight of it. 50% of the milestones of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam life before he became a prophet, in his childhood, his family, etc., and the different phases of da'wah, and the basic seerah of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, including also very minor information about the major companions' life. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, Umar ibn Khattab, Ali ibn Abi Talib, Uthman ibn Affan, etc. It's also very important to understand the Islamic etiquettes or adab, how to eat and how to enter the house, and how to leave the house, how to enter the masjid, and the etiquettes of going to the bathroom, and etiquettes of greeting guests and hosting them. All of this adab. Also, we have to be very well versed with it when you provide mentorship to the new Muslims. The reason for the last one is because you may find a lot of conflicting cultural practice that the mentee comes with. So we really have to understand the Islamic perspective when it comes to the adab, so we can really teach it to the mentees or the new Muslims, inshallah. Any questions or comments? Yes.
This adab you just mentioned, I think it might it raises some I don't want to say controversial issues, but people who are mixing between what's part of Islam and what's not part of Islam, and there's a fine line between that, and maybe we can shed some light on that.
Right, exactly. That's a really great point. We really have to understand the culture of the revert, and most of the culture are similar, but there are some differences, and these differences may contradict the Islamic adab. The Islamic adab. For instance, the Hispanic culture, Hispanic family culture, really allows the entire family to get together with no boundaries. For instance, if just as an example, if the husband is not home, as an example, it is okay for in the most of the Hispanic family culture for the wife to allow other men to enter the house, either to wait for the husband to come or to do some business or so. But that, of course, that's contradicting the adab in Islam. That's not allowed in Islam for a foreign man, not legal to enter the house in the absence of the husband. So you may encounter these things, and you really have to be aware of the Islamic ruling on it. So this is really very high level stuff, but of course there will be a lot of details and bits and pieces that you will encounter as a mentor moving forward, and it's impossible really to cover it in our training. So that's why we will have the mentorship training on a weekly basis in the beginning, so everyone can bring up these controversial issues and we can discuss it to find solution, and then you can go back to the mentees or the new Muslim and inform them about the Islamic ruling about these aspects of adab. It is very important for you to have the effective communication skills. Active listening techniques is really vital. They call it the empathetic listening, and we'll talk about that in the next slide. Also, the cultural sensitive communications. We have to be very, very sensitive to this point. Addressing doubts and misconceptions with wisdom. Many times you will encounter the new revert still embodies certain inherited values or principles that are contradicting Islam. How do you handle them? You have to be very sensitive and you have to handle them with a big wisdom. Always think about the confrontation is the worst style of communications. If you tell him, oh, you're wrong, how can you still believe that Jesus came to rid the humanity from their sins and the concept of crucifixion, etc. If you take that attitude of confrontation, I guarantee you that you will lose the mentee and they will not continue with you. So you have really to handle this misconcepts with a great deal of wisdom. Sometimes you have to let go for a short while and then you come back in the next meeting with your mentees and then address them individually. Gradually, basically, you have to take the mentee in the road and bend the road back to the Islamic road. It is also very important to manage conflict, difficult conversations. Always think about the most effective communication skills is based on something called 50-50 rule. What is the 50-50 rule? 50% of the time you speak and 50% you listen and ask questions. If you, in your sessions with your mentee, speak too much, then the mentee will think of you as very self-centered and non-caring. Oh, this mentor keeps talking about himself, his education, his family, etc. He doesn't care about me. He doesn't care to listen to me. And if you do the opposite, if you don't speak at all about yourself and continuously asking questions, probing the mentee about how old are you, what degree do you have, whom you are married to, what are your family, where do you live, do you have a house or apartment, whatever, you continue asking questions without talking about yourself, guess what? That will lead the mentee to think that you are investigating them. They will think that they are interrogated or investigated, and that's also a very bad feeling. So the best is really to have the 50% balance communication. You speak a little bit about yourself, and then you ask them question to give them the room to talk about themselves. People love that. That's the general rule in life, but especially in mentees. You don't want to be too closed about yourself, and you don't want to be too open. 50% is the golden rule. Now also think about the 90-second rule. The 90-second rule says that if you are asking a question, then the best time to answer that question is 90 seconds, not more than that. If the mentee has more ambiguous point to ask about, then they can ask additional clarification questions. But don't spend like 5 minutes talking about your education if the mentee asks you about your education or what degree do you have. Always 90 seconds, and then you stop or pause. If they need more clarification, they can ask you. Why 90 seconds? Because it's 90 seconds is known to be the average human attention span. People lose track after 90 seconds of listening. They don't really listen much beyond the 90 seconds. So this is just a general rule in life. Empathetic and emotional intelligence. So the empathetic communication, it means that you understand the challenges faced by new Muslims. You really understand them. You ask questions to the new Muslim to dig deeper about their feelings about what they are telling you. Of course, you can get the subject from their words, but what are the feelings behind these words that they are telling you? It's really very important for you to understand how they feel about these words that they are telling you. It is also very important to build the rapport and the trust between you and the mentee, the new Muslims. Without that rapport and without the trust, they will not open up to you. They will always think that you are here to judge me, you are really not helping me, you are really against me, you are judging me. So it is really very important to build that rapport. Can you think about some tools to build a rapport with the new reverts when you start your mentorship? Can you think about any tools to build rapport? Are you guys with me or no?
I'm thinking. I did. Yes, I'm with you. We're with you.
Yeah, Sister Deborah, are you there? Amen. Yeah. Rahif?
Yeah, I'm right here. Sorry, I was muted.
I can give you some tips. I can give you some tips. One of the great tools to build the rapport is to show interest about the other party. For instance, if you show interest in, ask them what do they do, and then pick up certain aspects of what they do, their job, and show great interest in it. If they tell you, for instance, I'm a journalist or a writer, you can say, wow, this is really a great job. Writers have always the chance to influence a much larger number of people than what we normally interact with in our daily life. If they show some interest in the artwork like painting or so, then you can always praise that and show some interest in what they do. Showing interest in other people and what the other people do always build up that rapport. Just make them feel that you are feeling them and you understand them. That in itself is a great tool to build that rapport. Third bullet is to recognizing and addressing emotional struggles. And sometimes they can give you some words, and everybody's reserved by nature, right? They don't really want to give you how they feel. Your role as a mentor is really to sense what they feel, what they are not trying to tell you, what is between the lines. Really very important to understand what is between the lines in their message. What is really implied? How do they feel about this? Really very important. So try always not to take the face value of what they say, but dig deeper and try to understand their emotional motivation to that subject. Encourage resilience and positivity. What does that mean? That means he always emphasize their good work. Like this is really a common rule, even known in dog training. I'm sure you heard the word good boy when the dog really brings the ball back or does something that the owner likes. That word good boy is nothing but encouraging positivity. Don't dwell so much on the negative aspects with the new Muslims, because that really will build the negativity between you and the new Muslim. Always pick up like any positive aspect that you hear, any great progress that they have done, and then exaggerate that, praise it so very much to make them feel good about it. And that will motivate them, encourage them more and more and more to do this good thing. And you will find automatically the bad actions diminish over time. Any thoughts or questions about this?
No, we're good.
Okay, very good. So we'll move to the next slide. Cultural and social integration.
Brother, are you sharing those slides later on?
Yes, I will share the slides and I will share the video as well, inshallah.
Jazakallah khair.
And inshallah, and I will continue to expand on them little by little. It was just a really quick preparation for this session. Inshallah, I'll expand more on them down the road, inshallah.
No, good information. Thank you so much.
So the cultural and social integration, negative cultural differences in Muslim community. I'm sorry, navigating cultural difference in the Muslim community. We really have to be very sensitive about these cultural points, difference in views. It is also very important to help the new Muslims to maintain family and social ties. Many times you will be faced with a new Muslim saying that, oh, my sister stopped talking to me because I reverted to Islam. So instead of telling her, well, that's her decision, she is really the loser. She will lose you as a good sister to her. That's one approach, but that's not the good approach. The good approach is that you as a Muslim should always try to keep the good connections between you and your sister. This is what the Quran and the Hadith of the Prophet ﷺ is telling us all the time. You should really try and strive over and over and over again to maintain and keep the good connections between you and your family and friends. Yeah, but they stopped talking to me and I don't feel like contacting them again. It's not, I'm not their slave, blah, 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 etc. Then you come back and says, well, every time you try to reach out to your sister, trying to rebuild your connection with her, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward you a lot. So don't look at it from the perspective of one-to-one relationship. Look at it from the global perspective that every time you try, Allah will add more hasanat, more rewards for you in your scale. That's really what we mean by helping new Muslims to maintain family and social ties. Addressing the workplace social challenges. Always think about this is really a very big thing, because when a person reverts to Islam, they have a crisis. The major part of the crisis is the identity crisis. Whom I am. Am I really a Muslim outside or inside? They always try to hide their identity out of fear to the society, and especially in the workplace. What the Islamophobia has done to us is really tremendous. We even born Muslims many times fear to reveal our identity as Muslims. I do remember when I started my professional work back maybe 35 years ago or so, nobody in my work knew that I'm a Muslim. And if I wanted to pray, then I would hide sometimes for a few minutes in a conference room, close it, and then do the Zohar prayer, and then go back to my desk, pretending that I just took like a lunch break or something. This is very common. So our role as mentor is always try to emphasize the fact that you define yourself, and your definition by you, by your choice, is a Muslim. So do not really fear to reveal that identity of being a Muslim in the workplace. This is the United States of America. It's a land of freedom. You are entitled to your faith. Others are adopt a different faith, like Judaism, Christianity, Buddhism, atheist, whatever. And they are not afraid to reveal that. You should also feel very proud of yourself in the workplace, and everybody should know that you are Muslim. This emphasis may take a little bit of time, because you really need to instill in the new Muslim the confidence about themselves, about their choice of being Muslim. So it may take a little bit of time, but you always have to keep in mind that it is really great tool for them to show their actual identity as Muslims. The prayer at the workplace has a lot of challenges. One of them is really to offer the prayers. Many of the new Muslims says, well, I don't know how to pray Zuhr during the work time. Well, your answer to that is, do you have an office? No, I don't. I work in a cubicle, and it's exposed to tens and thousands, hundreds of people in my workplace. Is there like a conference room that you can have a private time to pray? No, I don't, or I do, but it will be very obvious of what I do. Then in the beginning, if they are new Muslims, I'm telling you that you should really give them the rukhsa, the permit, to combine Zohar and Asr when they come back home. This is perfectly fine, especially in the beginning.
Yeah, Assalamu alaikum. I share with you the same views, Brother Mahmoud. I also this is in America also you have some legislation, right, to allow the employer, to make the employer make the right environment for diverse people, like they have worship room, or you call it restroom, or
Yes.
where it's multi-faith room, I think is what they call it.
Right, multi-faith room, yes. Meditation, record meditation room sometimes.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. So those things are really important for us as leaders to approach employers that have large numbers of Muslims, that they have to encounter prayer times during work, or even fasting in Ramadan. So that's something that they probably, if it's a big organization, big company, they may be able to do that. But again, this is not exact. It's part of what we're trying to do here, is to create the environment for the new Muslims. This way they don't feel out of place.
Yes.
But that's maybe one thing that I've seen this already happening, by the way, in America and outside.
Yeah, absolutely. I personally encountered this when I joined the United Bank of Switzerland. Just as a quick example, I was really praying and hiding because I was sitting in a cube or cubicle space, and I didn't have any room to pray. But then I connected with another Muslim, and a third one, a fourth one, and we ended up being about 15 Muslims working in the same building. So what we would do is we book, one of us was manager, so he was able to book a conference room. So he would book a conference room every day at Zohar time, then we go and meet there and pray, etc. And then later on, alhamdulillah, the number increased to about 25. We went to the building administration and we asked them for a permanent place because we were large in number and we insisted in our demand. They said, we cannot give you a place to be a masjid, but we can give you a common place of worship, as you mentioned, Brother Shaban, to be like a meditation room, or there's another name for it. It just slipped in my mind. Meditation room, or it's like a common area for prayers for Muslims and non-Muslims.
Yeah, because your managers, you were able to do it perhaps, or have more what's the word, more power maybe, or communication to talk and request it. But maybe going forward, maybe this is something as a community we need to, in America, we can try to make it like an HR item for employers who have Muslim employees.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we submitted the request the first time, we got rejected. But then we submitted again and we insisted and we asked it to escalate the issue to the director of the building management organization. And then finally, they agreed. They
Yeah,
agreed on that because we exerted pressure and they said, we cannot give it to you as a masjid, but we can give it to you as meditation room in the basement. I said, fine, we will take that. And Alhamdulillah, we had it for years now. It still exists until this moment.
yeah.
Uh,
Even in hospitals, probably is a good place to request something like this for the public, or the public approach. I don't think Dr. Bilal is there. I'm sure he works in hospitals or not. But again, this is for new converts. Is my point. It will give them power of belonging, and that they're not
right.
hide, they're and hesitate to do prayers on time.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Assalamu alaikum, brother. I wanted to share something. Usually in America, they don't deny you. They usually manage a room for you, even at universities and community colleges. They always give you. And even nowadays, airports has the quiet room that you can go and pray.
Right, right. And even in JFK, the largest airport in the nation in New York,
Right.
the Muslim community approached the administration and they were able to really have, they actually had 3 rooms for
Exactly.
meditation. And one of them is really dedicated to Muslims and it has many copies of the Mus'haf and rugs, etc. So, yeah, that's
Correct, but only Kansas City Airport. I tried to put the Quran, and they never got back with me. So one day I was traveling, and I put the Quran anyway. And that next time it wasn't there anymore, so they probably removed it. So I believe it's not only for Muslims; they're for all different faiths. They go there and they take their quiet time or pray or whatever they do, but they probably don't want any religious books in there. That's my own experience. And
right.
also nowadays the high schools even given the rooms to the students because they do Jummah and the students are doing the khutbah and they're praying.
Right, right, right. So all of these things we can really help the new Muslims to overcome by even us reaching out to the administration of their workplace or school.
Yeah, but I
Yeah,
have a question. I don't know how to impress the revert ladies to come to the mosque because a lot of times when they first become to Muslim and they come to the masjid and everybody welcomes them and they give them hug and a kiss, and the next time they come, nobody cares. Nobody even answers the salam to them. And I have gotten this response from a lot of reverts.
right, 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 right. So
So I
that's
don't
it.
know how to solve that
That's a
because
different topic. We will handle this in a later slide. We call it social integration.
okay,
Yeah, we will handle this in the
okay,
next.
Okay.
Alrighty.
Assalamu
Very good. The
okay.
last.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
What about Friday prayer? From my personal experience, whenever you respect your religion and you go to your supervisor, he also respects you and respect your wishes. When I first came here, I was working in a hotel as a front desk, which I could not really leave at any time and go pray. I spoke right away to my manager, and then any manager was passing through, used to ask me, "It's time for prayer yet? I can cover you. It's time for prayer, I can cover you." And then at the same time, in another hotel, there was another Muslim person, and it happened the manager would be the manager for both facilities, and the other one was not doing that. So he was coming and says, "What's the difference? Is it obligation or is it optional or
Yeah,
something like that?" So, in my opinion, I think from day one, tell them I'm Muslim and I need to pray conference room and I need Friday prayer, and that's a right, not privilege. Wallahu a'lam.
absolutely.
You have the rights. Yes, you have the right to ask for it, and they cannot deny it for religious reasons.
Right. I do remember back at the when I did work at UBS, we booked the conference room during the Juma prayer for like every Friday. I would go to the administration and then book it, and then next week another manager would go and book it, etc. And then after about 3 or 4 months, they realized that we booked the same room because it was the only room without windows, so it has complete privacy. Guess what? The same administration of the building, they said, you guys know what you do. You do your prayer there. I said, yes, practically we do. So he said, how about we book it for the entire year for you? They offered that when we respected our religion and the practice. I said that's great. That's fantastic. So from that point on, they really booked the entire room, I mean the entire year for the same room every Friday for hour and a half. So that's just a good example really of how do we, if we respect our religion, others will respect us as well.
Yeah, even at the public library, because Shawnee Mission didn't have any mosque, and it's far for them to travel all the way to ICJC or ICK. So I hosted a Friday prayer for them at Shawnee Mission Library, and they allowed me. They all the time they gave me the room.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Yeah, so that's really a good point.
yeah.
The last bullet here before we conclude today's session is encouraging practicing participation in Islamic events and mosques. This is really very important for us. And that really entails the Sister Lucky's point. It is really very important to encourage the new Muslims to attend all of the Islamic events, small or big. And why is that? They call it the social affirmation. If they see that they are not alone, and there are many, many Muslims in the city that they live in, then that gives them strength and power. But if they live alone and always living in fear that somebody sometimes will know that I reverted to Islam and that will be a big threat for me, etc., that's not good. So try always to encourage them to attend and come to Islamic events, so especially social events. That's what they need the most. At the same time, back to Sister Lucky's point, we should really pave the environment for them because automatically we know our culture. Pakistanis are isolated with Pakistanis, Indians with Indians, even Palestinian with Palestinian, and Egyptians with,
Arabs are with Arabs.
yeah, not even Arabs. It goes even to the Palestinian versus Egyptians sometimes, and
Yeah.
so it's even nationalities within the same common language. It's many times we are split. So your role as a mentor is really to pave the road, condition the recipients, the hosts for the new reverts, and make the effort to introduce them to the other Muslims in reverts and the board Muslims, etc.
No
So
problem is, brother,
attendance is
when
very
they
vital.
come, they don't mind of coming. When they come, they feel lonely because everyone speaks on their own languages. So they
Right.
feel they don't understand anything and they feel, themselves sitting by themselves.
Correct. So that takes us to another point that it's not only your job to mentor the reverts, but also to condition the environment around them. So I would say, like in a smiling face, hey guys, not everybody here speaks Arabic. Why don't we all speak English, for instance? So it gives it like a small subtle message to the Arabs not to speak Arabic, or to the Pakistanis not to speak Urdu, or the Hindis not to speak Hindu, etc. So
No,
keep that
but
in mind.
but brother, like how much ICJC is trying to get them in. But every gathering, there's only two or three. But I know hundreds here, but they don't come. And another issue is when they come into Islam, they're looking for a partnership. Okay, and
Correct.
that is the biggest thing. And they are looking for someone to be introduced. And sometimes our community goes really fast and they ask too many things, and they just try to hook them up with somebody, and that doesn't work. You have to listen to them. What do they want? And so, I mean, I have lots of experience with them because since I worked with them.
Right. Yeah. So that's basically now we're at 45 minutes. I think we will stop at this point, and then we
Yes.
will continue next week. Inshallah, hopefully by the next lesson, I have the list of the. Let me just stop the recording.
You know, I can just address this last one point.